Good morning, everybody. A couple things we're going to do today. I think you guys know you have the concept portion of this assessment. So I kind of changed things up. It's just going to be 25 multiple choice. I kind of tested your ability to do some of the problems in the multiple choice themselves. I graded, I think, 2 of your 3 in-class Excel problems. Some of you sent them through email, and I didn't have time to go through that yet, but I will. And I graded some of your take-home. I think I graded like 1 class, the 9:30 class, not the 11 o'clock class. But anyways, midterm ends this week. So I think midterm grades are due Monday. I'll have all the grading, including this, in by Monday. I promise you I will re-rank you. All that will be done by Monday. But what we're going to do today is we'll have that quiz at the end of the class. But what I missed back in Tuesday, September 26th, is something that says more pivot tables. And this isn't something in your book. This is something that, like a value-added provider. I want to show you some other things we can do with pivot tables, because I really think it's a skill set that will differentiate you on your resume if you are good at this. So what I would like you guys to do is everyone fire up their laptop. And we're going to go to material by chapter, and we're going to go to chapter 3. And I'm recording this because I forgot to record this morning. And under chapter 3, you see there's a folder that says Pivot Table Info and Data Sets. You guys see that? I want you to click on that. And let's go to the top data set. It says Sample Pivot Table Dataset Museum Collection. You guys?
What is this under?
This is under Chapter 3. Goes material by chapter, Chapter 3, and then there's a folder that says Pivot Table Info and Datasets. And I want you to click on the very top data set that says Sample Pivot Table Dataset Museum Collection. And this should come up. Got it. Yeah. Everyone have it? Find it there. Chapter 3, Pivot Table Info and Data Sets. It's the museum pivot table. Okay, so now everything we're about to do, I think there's only a couple hundred records in this data set, but there could be tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. And everything we're about to do would be the same amount of steps, which is a great thing about computers. If we had to do this manually, it'd take us, exponential amount of more time. But with this, it won't take us any more time. Now, if I scroll through here, it looks like this is a museum collection, and we have the artist, the title of the work, the date we acquired it, the category, its condition, where it's located in our museum, and the appraised value. And if we spin down, we can see, it looks like we only have 115 items. Now, one of the things that I think I see students do this all the time is when I spin down here, I can't see the titles, the first row anymore, right? So I don't know what G is. I know it says Garden East Pavilion. I don't know what H is. One thing that's very nice to do, it's very simple to do. If we want to freeze a row, we can do that very easily by going to View. And then under View, there's a window. You guys see the window grouping? You see the freeze panes? So let's freeze the top row. And what's nice about that is now if I spin down, it keeps the title up top, so I know, hey, this field is date acquired, right? And if there was, for example, there was a student name here or an art name that was something important, I could also freeze the first column. And there's other things I can do, but I'll just show you that for now, okay? So what we're going to do is, and some of this is new to you, some of it won't be new to you, but I want to take all this data, so I'm going to highlight all the data, so A through H. So I'm going to click on A and through H. And I'm going to go to Insert and Pivot Table. And click OK. So it wouldn't have mattered if there was tens of thousands of record there, there's 115, but it doesn't matter. If I want to maybe see a couple things. I want to see by category and condition, the total appraised value in each category and condition, right? So I'm going to take category, which we've done this before, and let's drag it down to the rows. So we have installations, paintings, sculptures, and textile works of art. And I'm going to drag condition to the location. So we have excellent, fair, good, and poor. So that's one way I can look at this, but I'm going to kind of look at this a different way. This is how we've been looking at 2 dimensions at once. But I'm going to take that condition, instead of dragging it to the columns, I'm going to drag it under the category. So I just drag it again, and then it turns green, I drop it there. So now I have by type, and then within type condition, right? So installation, excellent, good. Painting, excellent, fair, good, poor. Is that how you guys have this structured? Now I don't have any value at this point, and the value I'm concerned with is appraised value, so I'm going to drag appraised value down to the values area. And that's fine. I have a count of appraised value. That's all well and good. But along with the number of items, I want the total appraised value. So I'm going to keep count of appraised value, but how do I get the total value? How would I get the total appraised value in those categories? You guys should know this. Yes, thank you, Katie. That's exactly what I do. So I'd take that appraised value, and I would drag it below count of appraised value, and it says, oh, I'll give you the same thing again. But if I click on the drop-down for count, and I go to value field settings, I can change that to sum. And I don't like that it says sum of appraised value to. Let's just change that custom name up here to total value. And while I'm in there, I might as well change the number format, because we know that this is money. Let's change the number format to currency with 0 decimal places. Okay, so now it looks better. It's not sum of appraised value to, which that kind of is an ugly title. It's like me calling, your son of John Miko number 3. That's not how I would name my sons. Count of appraised value, let's fix that up, because count of appraised value doesn't seem very good either. So if we click on another way to get to that value field setting, just click on any of those, just right click. And then you see up top here under Analyze, we have count of appraised value. Let's just change that to number. That's not good. That's number of pieces. I guess that's what we call them, right? Number of pieces. Okay, so a couple things. You guys have this? This is kind of not new to us. I think I showed you as well under design. I could do things like, make it a nice style. I like orange, so I'm going to change it to orange. But some things I didn't show you under there is it gives you a layout, but we can change the layout. So I'm under pivot tables, tools. I'm under design, and I'm going to go through some of these layout things over here that we really haven't spent any time on. If I want blank rows, I can say insert a blank line after each item. So now I can see, that grouping with a blank line if I want. It's kind of, makes it pop a little bit. If I want to remove that, I can do that. By default, the layout of these items is something called compact form. But I can go to report layout, and I can show an outline form, and it's going to look a little bit different where it takes that embedded category and moves it over. You guys notice how it's a new column. And I could also show it in tabular form. It's a little bit different. If I repeat all item labels, it's going to repeat all those item labels. Let's go back to, I think compact form makes the most sense. And one of the things I want to get across to you today is this is called a pivot table, and a pivot is like an action, right? You pivot on the basketball court, Daniel, right? Pivot is, a movement. So what's nice about pivot tables versus paper is we can interact with them. So these little, pluses and minuses, I think they call them like twisties. If I want to compress things or expand things, I can hit the plus minus, which is kind of nice. I can also, if I look, this has subtotals. So if I click on subtotals, and I do not want to show subtotals, you see it got rid of the subtotal up top there that was in the orange. If I'd rather show that at the bottom of group, I can do that as well. I'll just leave it at that for now. If right now it's showing by like the type of work and then a condition, if I wanted to reverse that, if I wanted to show it by condition and then the type of work, all I would have to do is in this rows area, take this condition and left click and drag it and drop it above category. And now I've pivoted that view. Now I can see it as, excellent. Here are the things that are excellent. We have 85 total works, totaling $966,000. And here's the category of these items. Now, we can do all this, right? Because we understand pivot tables. But believe me, not everyone in your workplace is going to understand pivot tables. You're going to be above a lot of people. So maybe you want to give this to John down in accounting, and John's not pivot table savvy like you are, but you want to give him the ability to look at this data a couple different ways. So you want to provide him that ability, but he doesn't know how to play with pivot tables like we do. So what we can do is click on the pivot table and go to Analyze. So Pivot Table Tools, go to Analyze. And we haven't done this before, but under Filter, you guys see this filter area? Yes? Mm-hmm. There's an Insert Slicer. You may have more room, so you may see the Insert Slicer. So Insert Slicer, click on Insert Slicer. And let's do a location slicer. So location in our museum, there's like an east wing and things like that. So click on Location and click OK. And it gives me a little graphical user interface called a slicer, which allows me to filter this. And now you see that I'm clicked on the slicer. Up above, I have slicer tools. You guys notice that? And just like anything else, I can change the style to match my orange style. And I can drag that to make it smaller. But what I've given, if I give this to someone now and I say, yeah, just click on whatever you want to see. So maybe John in accounting wants to see what we have in the East Pavilion. He can click on the East Pavilion, and it automatically filters that table. If he wants to see what's in the courtyard, he can do that. If he wants to see in the South Pavilion, he can do that. If he wants to see multiple items, like he wants to see what's in the South Pavilion and the West Pavilion, while South Pavilion is clicked, I'm going to hold down the Control key and click on West Pavilion, and now it's showing two things. And if I hit the Control key again and go to Courtyard, now I can see what's in the Courtyard, the South Pavilion, the West Pavilion. If I click on the Unfilter, you see the filter with the X, meaning like no more filter. It will unfilter, and we're back to normal. So that's nice, but maybe we want to give him more tools. So let's put in another slicer. So we got to click on our pivot table again, go to Analyze, go to Insert Slicer, and I don't know, let's say, let's do category, put a slicer for category, even though we have it over here. Excuse me. So now, we have two slicers. I want to make it the format I want. And if we give this to John in accounting, he says, I want to see the paintings in the East Pavilion. All he has to do is click on Painting East Pavilion, and that's what we're showing over here, right? Which is pretty nice. So think about this. This was 115 records, but if this was 115,000 records, the same steps to do this analysis is all we would have to do, right? So it's pretty nice. Now the other things that I want to show you under, let's click on the pivot table again, and if we go to Design, or Analyze, I'm sorry, there's these plus minus buttons, the little, they call them twisties because they kind of twist. If we want to get rid of those, because maybe we want to print this now, I want to get rid of the plus minus buttons, I can do that. If I want to get rid of the field headers, which is like the row labels, I can do that. and then I have something that looks more printable, if you will. If I click on field list, it'll get rid of my field list to the right, which I don't know why you really want to do that, but I could do that. So I'm going to put the plus minus buttons back. So if you think about it, now we can provide something, they can answer a lot of questions. If they want to know what's in the East Pavilion, that's a painting, that's in excellent condition, how many items are there? There's 36 items. So we can really pivot. Now what's great about this is I've done this like superficial level, like this top level, but maybe I really want to know about, looks like there's 36 paintings that are excellent condition, right? You guys see that? The total 36,520. You guys see this? Yes? So let's say I want to drill down, and that's what we're doing here. We're like slicing and dicing, and maybe we want to drill down on those 36 items and just analyze those a little bit separately. Well, let's double click on the 36. Just double click on the 36. And you'll see what happened there is we got a new worksheet. And sheet 1 is our pivot table. Our collection is our original data. Sheet 2, you know what that is? That is those 36 items. So we took those original 115, and now we drilled down into only the 36 items that match those categories. Does that make sense? So I'm going to do more analysis on this. Like I'm going to go another level down because I can do that. So let's take these 36 items. So it turns out it's like 1, 2, 115, 113. And let's do some analysis just on this subset. So we're down a level, but we're going to do some more analysis. And maybe I'm concerned with the date that things came in. So let's take this table, do insert, pivot table. So I'm doing a pivot table of a subset, right? And I click OK, just these 36 items. And so these were, what were they, excellent paintings or something? I can't remember. These are excellent paintings. And I want to analyze these by when we acquired them. So I'm going to take date acquired. You guys see date acquired? And I'm going to drop that into the rows. And I'm going to shove appraised value into the values area. And I'm going to make that, you guys know how to do this, but I'm going to make that a currency. So anyways, okay. So now, some of you, it depends on how you last left this, but when you drag date acquired to the rows, do some of you have like the actual dates of every item? Okay, most of you? No, you have like, so I'll show you how to go back and forth, right? Right now this is grouped. So I have 2006. You can see I have $8,000 worth of items that came in 2006. And if I hit the plus, it's by quarter 3. And if I go further, it says September, which is kind of nice. But maybe I want the individual dates. So if I click on this and under Analyze in my pivot table, you see the grouping area. You guys see the group area? Let's go to Ungroup. Go to Ungroup. If you're a group like me, go to Ungroup. And now you'll see by every date. So this ungroups it. You know what I mean? Like it's every individual date. Brandon?
How did you do that?
Ungroup?
Yeah,
Click on the date, and then go to Analyze in the pivot table tools. And in the group area, go to Ungroup. Did you do it?
Yeah.
Okay. And let's say I want to group this. Again, so all I have to do is go to Group. And I can tell it I want this group by, I don't know, years and quarters. So I'm going to get rid of the month and do by years and quarters. And I click OK. And now you'll see it has by year and quarter. So I can tell you now, in 2007, those excellent paintings, we run $56,000 worth of excellent paintings. In quarter 2, $26,000. So it's pretty nice. Now, I'm going to give this to John in accounting again, and we know he's an idiot. So we need to provide a better mechanism for John to filter this. So there's a slicer which allows us to click on categories, but there's something geared specifically toward time. And if we go to click on the pivot table again, go to pivot table tools, and we go to insert timeline. So click on insert timeline. And this is a filter or a slicer specifically geared toward dates. So check date acquired because that's the only date table available in our pivot table at this point. And you'll see it has, this is called a timeline, and there's timeline style, so I'm going to go to my sexy orange like I always do. And now we have a mechanism to, let's say, we only want to see, I don't know, September 2012 items. Well, I can click on just September 2012. It looks like there wasn't anything in September 2012. But if I take this little bar and I drag it, now I'm looking at July, August, and September of 2012. And then maybe I want to go to December. Maybe this is too much detail. Maybe month is too granular. So maybe I want to go to, I don't know, years. So if I want to see, I don't know, 2007, I click on 2007. Maybe I want to see 2007, 2008. Maybe I want to see through 2010. So it makes it very interactive. Does that make sense? So, and we can combination these things together, right? Think about it. You can put, slicers with timelines and say, you give someone, like your boss might not know what question she wants to answer. You're saying, hey, I built this, and you can use it to, look by category, by condition, and by time at any appraised value you like, okay? Which is, very, very powerful because that's what we're trying to do is answer questions. And I can tell you, pivot tables, I taught you that in like 20 minutes, right? And I don't know how many of you'd be able to replicate that, but I'm going to make you replicate it. But it is not like splitting the atom that people think it is. I'm a professor, and I'm in meetings with other professors who have PhDs, and I do some of this in front of them, and they act like, they start bowing to me, right? Like, oh my God, you're like a genius. I'm like, well, I'm smart, but but you can do this too, is what I'm saying. And in the business world, this is a very valuable skill to be able to take a bunch of data and analyze it because you're trying to answer questions. And the tools are there. You just have to know how to use the tools and know that they exist. We could have also, as we did this analysis, we could have put a pivot chart with it. We saw that. So here's what I want you guys to do. I know we have a quiz, but it's only 25 multiple choice, not going to take you long. Here's what I'd like you to do to see if you could analyze something. Out in that same folder that says pivot table, there's a data set that says American colleges 1993. So this is all the colleges in America in 1993. It's a public data set. It has information like, is it public or private? Is it, you might have to up-convert it because it looks like it's an old compatibility mode. Is it a party school or not? What was the average SAT score? What was the verbal SAT score? It has some information, a lot of information. But here's what I want you to do, okay? And just take a few minutes and then we'll come together and do it together. And you don't have to do this perfectly, but I want you to create a pivot table of the average math SAT score by state. So I want to see Alaska. How many universities are in Alaska, and what was their average SAT score? How many universities in Alabama, and what was their average SAT score? And then, add a style to it, whatever style you want, whatever style matches you. Maybe do the same thing, but add public and private to it. So public and private. So either do it in columns or you can do it as a row field, but I'd like to see that. Add a slicer. I said filter here, but add a slicer for school tier. There's like 5 tiers of schools, like Carnegie classification. Add a slicer for party school. If you're on the party school list, yes, no. And add counts of schools. So just go ahead, take a few minutes and see if you can analyze that. Katie? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it was all I did was from condition above category. So is that what you mean? Yes. One time you're going to do the math SAT scoring routine to average. One time you're going to leave it as count. So one thing you want to do first is, there you go, drag state to the rows.
Is there a way to get rid of you got to find
Yeah, you can do that. Filter it out of your pivot table. Filter out this like stuff. Okay.
We're on here and it says we're a party school.
1993. Lighting up in Lewis Lounge. See where he is now. Social media. I'll tell you what, there are some people that I went to college with that are in unbelievable positions. Like I wouldn't put them in charge of a barbecue, let alone a company. They're CEOs of companies, you know. You got a big marketing exam?
Yeah, big marketing exam. First one to get too.
Yeah, you're sweating, huh?
I'll be all right, you know. I'm never stressed that bad.
Do your best. That's all you can do in life.
You don't know Circle C, right?
Huh?
I said, I heard if you don't know, just Circle C.
That's statistically true, actually. And I find myself when I make an exam, you do that because you think like, all right, I get them a bad answer, and you know, and then I don't know. That's just your mind. That's how you know. There's a lot of cognitive biases, and that's one. That's a human cognitive bias. So, C is statistically yes. It's not an even distribution. Professors make C the right answer more so than.
That's great.
That's fact.
Everybody really practice.
That's crazy because you know when I do it, I get it wrong.
Yeah, real talk. Every time.
All right, so I'm going to take the American Colleges data set. Let's open that up. And it's in compatibility mode, so let me upconvert that. Remember how to file, upconvert it, so it's in the latest and greatest format. Okay. All kinds of information here, right? Like, so out-of-state tuition, in-state tuition, room board, estimated book cost. You know, so it depends what we're looking at. But I'm going to highlight it all because I want access to all of it. And I'm going to do insert pivot table. And I think I asked you to by state. So I'm going to drag that to the rows. There's my states. I wanted math SAT. So I'm going to drag that to values. And it says count of it, math SAT. Well, that's no good. I want average, so I'm going to go to value field settings. I'm going to change it to average. down here from count to average, and I'm going to say math SAT, I don't know, that's good, I'll say average maybe, AVG. And while I'm at it, I'm going to change the number format to number and no decimal places, so it looks a little bit better. I think I told you to pick a style, so pick a style. And I think I asked for a count, so let's throw a count in there as well. So I'm going to drag math SAT there. And while I'm at it, I'm going to change that to I'll just change the title to count, or just say number of schools. And I think I wanted to, I said something about doing this by public and private. So I have two options. I can drag public and private to the columns area, or I could drag public and private down below the states. And once again, that's like the, whatever you think makes most sense, right? So however you want to present the data. Actually, this probably looks like a better representation of it to me than the other, right? This looks cleaner to me. And then I think I asked you to add a slicer for something. So I'm going to do analyze, insert slicer. What did I say? School tier. I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to add a slicer as well for, so I'm going to do 2 for party school. So now we have 2 slicers. And I could change the styles of those to match my table. You got to click on the pivot table. And then under pivot table tools, under analyze, there's a filter group. And up top there's like insert slicer. And then you pick the field you want to slice. You're slicing and dicing data, you pick the field you want to slice. So if I want to see, I don't know, maybe I'm just doing analysis on party schools. I want to look at Pennsylvania. Let's see, Pennsylvania, we have 10 schools total that are in tier, that are party schools, 8 private, 2 public. There's their average math SAT score. If I wanted to drill down and see who those schools were, I could just double click on the 8. And there we see St. Francis College. It was a college, not a university back then. I could do all kinds of analysis here, and I didn't, do all kinds of analysis, but you guys get the sense of this. And this is like the data has a story to tell, right? And you are helping give it voice. I know that's kind of dramatic, but that's what we're doing here, right? We're saying, what is the information in this data set? Like, how can I present this to someone? How can I inform them so that we can make a better decision, so that I can communicate better? And that is, in this data-driven world, especially in business, that's an important skill set to have, to be able to take massive amounts of data and create information which gives knowledge, with knowledge is power. And some of you I noticed make fantastic graphs, like I'm good quantitatively, but as you can tell, I'm not good like fashion-wise or like, aesthetically thing. I'm not an artist type. I barely can match my clothes, right? So some of you have that skill set, but if you can put those two skill sets together, that's a great thing to have. Now, what I'd like you to do for homework, because I have to give you homework, right, is under that chapter 3, I want you to, I was going to do this in class, but they complained about not having enough time last class, so I said, all right, you do your homework. Under this, it says pivot table work. It says using the pledges workbook, which is a workbook up top, and I'll show you that in a second. I want you to do by fund name, show a count of pledges, the amount of the pledges, and the amount owed. So this is a donation form for something. And we want to say what people pledged to by fund name, how much they pledged and what's still owed. And add donor type to the rows as well. There's individual and organization. Make a fund name slicer. Make a date pledged a timeline. Remember the timeline? Yes?
Yes.
That's kind of a filter. Find an appropriate report layout. So that should literally only take you a few seconds to do. Okay? It's kind of fun. Maybe it's not your idea of fun, but it's kind of fun. So, no, just go to Analyze. You don't have to right click. Just click on it. Go to Analyze. You didn't upconvert this. You got upconvert. Yeah, so that's why it's grayed out there. It was there, so you insert slicer, but it's grayed out because you didn't upconvert. Okay, any questions on that? That's good stuff, isn't it, Gus? Isn't that the best thing you've learned this week, Gus? It's got to be close, right? Daniel, what do you think?
Top 5.
Top 5, come on. What else is in the top 5? Give me the other 4 things you learned.
Some of the accounting stuff is pretty interesting.
Really? Depreciation?
Finance, you can throw that out the window. This is actually
Top 5, man. I'm not pleased with top 5.
Top 2.
I'm not a top 5 kind of guy.
Top 2. I got you with top 2.
I got an ego that needs fed, Dan.
I'm like,
Top 2.